So, good day, everyone. We are the group assigned to Emmanuel Levinas, and we're going to present today Levinas' work entitled Substitution. But first, we will introduce ourselves. My name is Jennifer D. Kawiran. Together with me are my group mates Rohana Onteling, Winnie Torres, and Francesca Villanueva. Next, please. So, uh, Emmanuel Levinas was born in Canwas, Lithuania at January 12, 1906, to a family rich in Jewish cultural tradition. And he is very much multilingual. He can speak Hebrew, Yiddish, and he's very interested in Russian literature. After the World War I, his family relocated to France, where he pursued philosophy at the University of Strasbourg, in which he became knowledgeable about Edmund Husserl. Later on, he studied under both Husserl and Martin Heidegger at the University of Freiburg. Uh, Initially, he was drawn to Heidegger's existentialism, even choosing it over Kantian philosophy. But later on, he distanced himself due to Heidegger's association with the Nazis. Despite of this, Levinas acknowledged Heidegger's impact on European philosophy, though he criticized the lack of ethical dimension in Heidegger's thought. Levinas later on became a French citizen after fighting against the Nazis in World War II. But tragically, while he was imprisoned during the war, many of his family members died in concentration camps. And he settled in Paris. He became a professor of philosophy, and directed a Jewish school. He continued to write books, articles, and throughout his life, he became very much interested in existentialism. But during the Christmas day in 1995, while he was 89 years old, he died. Next, please. So, principle and anarchy. Levinas quoted, "In the relationship with beings, which we call consciousness, we identify beings across the dispersion of silhouettes in which they appear. In self-consciousness, we identify ourselves across the multiplicity of temporal faces. It is as though subjective life in the form of consciousness consisted in being itself, losing itself, and finding itself again, so as to possess itself by showing itself, proposing itself as a theme, exposing itself in truth. The philosophical tradition of the West, all spirituality lies in consciousness, thematic exposition of being or knowing." So, what he meant here is that we traditionally believe that relationships or connection with other being is one way of us gaining consciousness. We think about the big question of philosophy. We often ponder about things like meaning of life, why we exist, about substance, what happens after we die, and what it means to be alive. The earlier thinkers believed that there's a system, thematization, an essence of our action as being for the sake of a certain goal, may it be for consciousness, reason, freedom, which is mostly directed to the self. It is definitely I centered and also self serving. Next, please. But this is why this adventure is no adventure. It is never dangerous. It is self possession, sovereignty, archive. Anything unknown that can occur to us is Anything unknown that can occur to us is in advance disclosed, open, manifest, is cast in a mold of the known and cannot be a complete surprise. So sinasabi niya, parang lahat ng bagay may pre-assumption na. So he believed that focusing too much on these big ideas was a bit of a problem in philosophy. He thought that philosophers spend too much time trying to totalize everything into one neat system that works for everyone, objectively and eternally. The problem with this kind of approach is that it focuses on what he calls the same, trying to find ways of understanding the world from the start of a first person perspective and end in a totality. For Levinas, this process gets things entirely backwards and leads us to be caught in an obsession of sameness, which he later on associates with totality. So, para sa kanya, we must see the other as absolutely other. Kasi 'di ba, we have this idea of the I and the other. Pero yung mga naunang thinker, they associate this kind of system as subject and object. Pero hindi dapat ganon. Sabi niya, the absolutely other must be something that is beyond our grasp or understanding. Na from the encounter of proximity, we face this other as an absolutely exterior or apart from us. And because we cannot no longer objectify this other, we became the one for the other. Next, please. And so, because we cannot fall onto the system of thematization of totality, how in consciousness can there be an undergoing or a passion whose active source does not in any way occur in consciousness? Levinas mentioned that it is in a responsibility that is justified by no prior commitment. So he also quoted in recurrence that recurrence is but an outdoing of unity. If philosophy has largely been focused on totality throughout its history and has been caught up in a kind of metaphysics or thematization, he thinks that what we need to do is to reorient philosophy. We need to reorient philosophy to the idea of infinity, which he associates with the other. Or instead of ontology or the study of being, philosophy is first and foremost an ethics. It's a way of reorienting us towards what is radically other, radically transcendent or beyond our grasp. The other is instead what is radically beyond out of reach. And so ethics is not about rational decision making or weighting options in an abstract manner. It's about relating to other beings not because we see similarities. Ethics is about responding to others. It's about responding to them as they reveal themselves, especially considering that their perspective on the world is something that we can never fully comprehend. That's all for my part. For the next part, will be discussed by Francesca Villanueva.
We'll be discussing two things. First is the self, and secondly is what the self should do under the gaze of the other, which is substitution. So first, let's discuss the self. I will be discussing the passivity of the self, the uniqueness of the self, and the self in the face of the other. So let's start with the passivity of the self. So the self is constantly described by Levinas as a hostage. The self is confined and limited within its own identity. It is not at ease with its established form. It is constantly restless. Under the watchful gaze of the other, there is an obsession that takes place. There is a demand for a deeper connection and engagement with the world beyond the self. And in the presence of the other, the self must let go of its own interests to fully engage with the needs of the other. As Levinas puts it is in its own skin, not at rest, tight in its skin, encumbered, and as it were stuffed with itself, suffocating, unsufficiently open, forced to detach itself from itself, to breathe more deeply, all the way forced to dispossess itself to the point of losing itself. And the self, in the face of the other, undergoes a passivity of obsession, where one is consumed by its encounter with the other. This is an embodied experience. It is in this encounter that the self's uniqueness becomes all the more apparent. The self's individuality emerges from its ethical dynamic with the other. It is in this passivity of obsession, Levinas says, that, or incarnated passivity, that an identity individuates itself as unique, without recourse to any system of references, in the impossibility of evading the assignation of the other without blame. And next is the uniqueness of the self. The uniqueness of the self is not defined by individual attributes or characteristics, but rather by its ethical relationship with the other, recognizing and acknowledging the vulnerability and humanity of the other, and being willing to act in ways that alleviate their suffering or adjust their needs, even if it means bearing some form of fault or responsibility, is how the self demonstrates itself. By bearing the fault of another, the self demonstrates its capacity for compassion, empathy, and selflessness, qualities that distinguish it from mere individuality or self-interest. And as he says, the uniqueness of the self is the very fact of bearing the fault of another. Lastly, the self in the face of the other. As the self becomes more aware of its capacities under the gaze of the other, they recognize their ethical responsibility towards it. This leads to a deeper sense of justice and accountability. Levinas, in this case, all the more highlights the interconnectedness of the self with the other. Psyche, or the inner self, is intimately intertwined with the presence of the other, without negating or alienating its own existence. The other exists in its fundamental alterity, its absolute otherness. Encounter with the other all the more bolsters the self to recognize their essential humanity, as we now hold an ethical responsibility towards the other. As he put it, the more I return to myself, the more I divest myself under the traumatic effect of persecution, of my freedom as a constituted willful imperialist subject. The more I discover myself to be responsible, the more just I am, the more guilty I am. I am in myself through others. Psyche is the other in the same, without alienating the same. So then he coined substitution, and we will be discussing two things under this. That is the place of the self and inspiration and responsibility for the other. So first, the place of the self. The word I, according to Levinas, is beyond self-reference now embodies a sense of accountability and responsiveness towards the other. Traditional notions of identity, to Levinas, are inadequate in capturing the full depth of ethical responsibility. As such, the limits of identity, defined by individuality and autonomy, are unable to express the extent of one's obligation towards the other. Assuming responsibility for the other entails a radical departure from self centered concerns and an embrace of the interconnectedness of the self and other. As Levinas puts it, the word I means here I am, answering for everything and for everyone. Responsibility for the other has not been a return to oneself, but an exasperated contracting, which the limits of identity cannot retain. Next is inspiration and responsibility for the other. As such, the self is intimately connected to the presence of the other. It finds meaning and significance through its relationship with the other. The influence of the other on the self does not bolster alienation where the self is isolated. The other serves as inspiration for the vitality of the self. The self is emphasized by its ethical duty for the other. As Levinas puts it, I exist through the other and for the other, but without this being alienation, I am inspired. This inspiration is the psyche. And this is where substitution takes place. Levinas describes a state of being in oneself, that is, a deep inwardness. It is an immersion with one's own existence. There is then a sense of confinement within one's own identity. In this regard, substitution then characterizes the willingness to assume responsibility for the other. This leads to the self towards an existential condition that transcends identity and essence. To be in oneself, according to Levinas, backed up against oneself, to the extent of substituting oneself for all that pushes one into this null place, is for the I to be in itself, lying in itself beyond essence. In this substitution, the other and the self are interconnected and harmonious. The self is therefore transcended and characterized in the face of the other. As Levinas fully puts it, I, the unique one, substitutes itself for others. Nothing is a game, thus being is transcended. And that will be all for my part. Next reporter will be Winnie Torres. Thank you.
So in this part, I will be talking about communication in a Levinian sense. So communication and transcendence with the other happens when we understand subjectivity as self-generation. Ibig sabihin nito, iwan natin yung traditional notions of the egocentric self where it emphasizes in seeking certainty or self-incidence. So in the Western thought, there's an issue in how we view each other. We, the subject, treat others, the other, as objects solely to learn and to understand ourselves better. Hindi lang daw natin titingnan yung other as a means to understand oneself, but also an ends in themselves. Kaya para magawa natin na ma-emulate, the ego must sacrifice itself and eventually, dito na papasok yung true communication and transcendence. So thinkers before, hindi daw nila gaano sineryoso yung concept of solidarity or yung social relation kasi nga nakafocus sila sa cognition of the self. They always try to seek for communication as a full coverage insurance. Gusto nilang tingnan yung communication as a general aspect ng emotions, ideas, experiences, rather than yung individual dialogue na nagsusustain within communication. So to truly connect with someone, kailangan iset aside natin yung own needs or yung desire at kailangan umiral yung openness kasi yun yung nag-aalaw for deeper communication and meaningful connection. So next slide po. However, we must be reminded na hindi lang daw siya nagtatapos sa pagiging open and vulnerable to the other. We must not expect something in return. Bali, hindi lang magiging avenue yung pag-communicate to validate and confirm our ideas and beliefs, but as to make a meaningful connection and build an understanding. Furthermore, communication blossoms when we embrace the responsibility of understanding and connecting with the other person on a deeper level. Through this, may higitan natin yung notion of communication as an act of disclosure or just a mere exchanging of information into becoming responsible for the other. Di kasi nangyari daw yung um, responsibility by accident. Kasi sinasabi ni Levinas na nauuna yung responsibility natin sa non-ego or yung other, rather than yung relationship the ego with itself. So in short, kaakibat ang responsibility na ilagay yung truth outside of oneself. Hindi na lang siya magiging para kay I or makukulong kay I. So for a new lens on communication, sinasabi na trace in which a face is ordered is not reducible to a sign. So meaning building a connection with someone is more nuanced than just reading signs. So it goes beyond just surface level of interacting with the other. It's about a deeper dynamic understanding that comes from openness and receptivity. Trying to overanalyze or categorize this connection can actually hinder it. Real communication thrives when we embrace the complexity and allow ourselves to be truly present with the other person. Basically, it refers to the idea that true communication involves an openness to the other's perspective, even if it remains partially unknown or unseen, because the way we experience the other person can be boiled down to a simple label or interpretation. So, ayun lang po sa part ko. So, for the next slide po, Rohana, ito yun.
Thank you so much for that, Winnie. So in this concluding part, here we can see Levinas' ontological project, in which he tries to answer the question, what is the truth of my being? So these are the points that he laid out regarding what is the self or one's being. Una, self is a finite, self is a hostage, self is unique, and hence self is ethical. All of this will come to make sense towards the point that he is trying to make, or yung thesis niya, that morality is prior to our being. Next slide po. So the finitude of being. Levinas was actually criticizing the idea of absolute freedom or infinite freedom. For him, kasi, since our being is always in connection with the other, our freedom is relational autonomy, meaning it is influenced by an outside source, the people or non-people. The jump from infinite freedom to finite freedom does not diminish our exercise to act freely or to desire, but it signifies that the being's role is not to impose our absolute freedom sa ibang tao, but to act ethically that goes beyond our individual or egoistical will. Next slide po. So being as a hostage. With this, Levinas is starting to introduce the idea that morality is prior to our being, or yung thesis niya. That there is this transcendental thing daw in us that makes us act morally or responsibly towards someone or something beyond ourselves. Transcendental yung morality niya kasi this positivity to goodness or morality is sometimes cannot be explained by logic. Hence, the good is before the being. This is what it means to be a hostage. Our being is always in kind of debt towards the other. We are called upon to be responsible towards the other. Also, Levinas points out the fact that we don't act morally only out of obligation or for some divine reasons. Kasi this ethical inclination is natural, is prior to a being, which makes us a unique being. Next slide po. Next slide. And uniqueness and selfhood. So what is this uniqueness that Levinas is talking about? We have to go back to the idea of being as a hostage. Kasi being a hostage to others, you're basically responding to the other's needs outside of your own interest as stated kanina by Villanueva. The being is unique in the sense that there is this transcendental incarnation of morality in you, and you alone can experience that transcendence and no one else. Basically, the self identifies its own being. It comes to know itself in connection with the being's or the self's responsibility towards the other. Hence, the journey towards selfhood is personal or private or unique to you. Kasi in recognizing the other, you come to realize your own finitude. Hence, the egoistical I is destroyed. Kasi nga, nag-go beyond ka na outside of yourself or your own interest. So all in all, Levinas in this part used the concept of finite freedom to announce to us that our moral responsibility goes beyond ourselves. It extends to the other. And through this act, we come to know our being or self as a finite. The truth of our being is morality is prior to our being. Hence, ethics is the first philosophy. Kasi hindi nagsisimula o nagtatapos ang filosofiya sa metaphysics or ontology, but it starts with the being that is ethical. So that concludes our report for Emmanuel Levinas. Thank you so much for listening.